Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Thank you for being here. Thank you for practicing social distancing as we try to communicate with the public about the latest changes in the city of Knoxville and our response to coronavirus. And I'm happy you all have received copies of the news release and the latest executive order. And I'd be happy, you're getting too close, I'd be happy to take questions from anybody. I said the details are in the media release, and if you guys haven't had a chance to read it, I can give an overview of that. Okay, the main changes are that we are requiring, not just suggesting, we are requiring that restaurants and bars in the city of Knoxville no longer serve people inside, that they go to carry out and delivery only. We are requiring that gyms and fitness centers inside the city of Knoxville close. And we are also requiring that venues that serve large numbers of people, commercial venues, close to the public. For example, such as many of which have already done that voluntarily. An example of one is the Tennessee Theater and the Bijou Theater, but this moves from a suggestion to a mandate. And this is, of course, in response to the pandemic, COVID-19. I'm told, I don't think it's confirmed, but there's been 4 new cases in our community today. And it's a type of thing that I think it took 3 months around the globe to get 100,000 cases, and it's taken 12 days to get the next 100,000 cases. So this is a type of disease that's highly transmissible, and the timing of this. The reason that we decided to move forward with this today, and I did this in communication with all of City Council and a number of community leaders and business leaders and business owners and bar owners, consulting with all kinds of people. But the reason we decided to move forward today is because we have a lot of families in Knoxville who've been traveling due to spring break for University of Tennessee, Knox County schools, and other entities. And they have been visiting places that may have already experienced widespread cases of COVID-19. And we are just now learning through the scientists how contagious it is. And people may be coming back and not knowing, they may be completely asymptomatic, and they may never have symptoms, but they can still carry it and transmit it to other people. And sometimes you're asymptomatic for a while and then have symptoms later. So the timing of this is to take action now, so people minimize their exposure, that they understand that the social distancing is a compelling need for everybody to exercise, no matter whether you're young and healthy and an at-risk population. It's important to practice social distancing, and so that's why we are encouraging that to happen by mandating these closures. Yes. Well, he asked about the economic impact, and of course I didn't proceed with this lightly because the economic impact is real. And I am already hearing from many people who are already experiencing the economic impact. So the fact is the economic impact is happening no matter what, because businesses are already closing, people are worried about protecting their employees. And so we're doing this because if we act now, not only will it help flatten the curve and make sure that COVID-19 doesn't spread so much that our hospitals can't manage it, it can also mitigate the impact economically. So it's a short-term pain, but then slower, that mitigates the long-term hardships. And I invited President and CEO of the Knoxville Chamber, Mike Odom, is here because he and his team are already putting together resources for business owners, for people who rely on wages and tips to pay their bills, and other resources for the business community. He's here to take questions on those issues if you would like to take some of those questions now. Okay. Yes, well, we are in frequent communication with Dr. Buchanan, and I think she and her team are doing excellent work in very, very challenging circumstances. We decided to be a little more proactive because Knoxville, the city of Knoxville, is a more densely populated place where the risk of transmission is higher. So I feel like it's incumbent upon me as mayor to do whatever we can to protect the public health. And I know that she agrees with those sentiments and just has a little different strategy. But we're on the same page about fighting COVID-19 as a community, and we're doing everything we can as a county and as a city to work together and prevent the transmission of this disease. Well, we expect, first of all, many businesses and gyms and bars and restaurants have already closed on their own volition because they are good citizens and they want to prevent the spread of this virus. For those who are still open, many of them have already altered their practices because they're already changing to takeout only and that sort of thing. And many of the others have seen a significant drop in business. I've had businesses come to me and say, please require us to close because then it can, help us deal with insurance issues and other things. It can help our employees go out and seek unemployment. So our goal is to encourage people to comply and not be draconian about it, but to go out there and expect people to comply based on the media that's getting the message out. And if we need to go into more enforcement, there's citations and other actions as needed. Could you repeat the question?
Can we expect any more closures or any more mandates like this while Knoxville is
This is a very fluid situation, and we are responding to things as they unfold and always keeping the public health as our top priority. So I don't know.
Mayor, a lot of unknowns, as you said right now. A lot of people are going to be watching this, seeing bars, restaurants, gyms closed. A lot of things they do on a regular basis that we can't have can't do anymore. There's a lot of fear out there too. Can you talk about the community and that aspect of people on this that might be up on board?
Yeah, well, I would like to reassure people that by practicing social distancing now, that can mitigate the impact of the disease and the economic fallout. So it is worrisome, and it's a big change in the norms. Our schools are closed. Now many of the places where we like to go out and socialize are closed. But the reason is not because we need to be fearful so much as that we need to practice social distancing. And it's really hard for people to change their normal practices. But this is a way that will encourage that even more. And so I would encourage people to practice social distancing, stay at home, avoid unnecessary trips. And for those, when you do go out, just practice social distancing as you shop at the grocery store, as you do an errand for a neighbor who is undergoing chemotherapy. As we're helping each other get through this, practice the social distancing, but also be there for your neighbors. And there are ways to be safe and also be outside, enjoying our parks, enjoying our trails, gardening, cooking at your home, and those sorts of things. Like, those are all reading, watching TV. All these things are still safe and easy to do, and many of them are free. So it's not an easy time. This is a hard thing, particularly for those who've lost their incomes, and that's something, Mike Odom is here to address some of those issues if you want to ask more specifics about that.
Quickly before we do, the order today, this is because you signed that state of emergency, this is an hour, and now you're taking this step. Is that correct? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Mr. Odom?
So, you have a question? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so Mike Odom, Knoxville Chamber, we have, for the last couple weeks, have created a number of resources, mainly through our website, knoxvillechamber.com. On that homepage, you can find a COVID-19 update page, which we are updating constantly. As the mayor said, it's a very fluid situation, obviously, and so we are maintaining that on an hourly basis to ensure that we keep all that information out there. You asked earlier about economic impact. We are prepared now to issue a survey to start collecting some quantitative data from our business community. Probably doesn't make sense for us to do so at this point, so we're going to wait probably about a week or two before we do that, so that we can start having some hard numbers to back up to see what the actual impact is going to be. In the meantime, we are, as I said, monitoring the situation to make sure that our businesses understand what resources are out there, what could be coming. Governor Lee has requested a emergency package from the Small Business Association. We're waiting for that to get approved, which will allow low interest loans for businesses to qualify for. There's obviously a federal stimulus package that's making its way through, so we're trying to understand that a little bit better. We also want to encourage businesses to look at their business model, become innovative, dynamic in how they do it. A lot of them have already done that. As a matter of fact, we have created a page within our website that businesses can say, hey, we've changed our delivery method, we've changed the way our resources are being delivered out there, and then we are out there promoting that, try to get them some business. We're also encouraging people that if you do take advantage of curbside delivery, over tip. That's a great way to help out. I am a washed up bartender and waiter, and over tipping is a great way to support the wait staff out there as we go through this. But we're going to get through it. We also want to encourage businesses, as you deal with today, and to start thinking about tomorrow. We will get through this, and when we do, there's going to be a lot of pent-up demand for restaurants and bars and workout and gyms. Be prepared for that. We don't want to precipitate this issue when we do get back to normal and people aren't ready to go for that. We do want to encourage employees that have been laid off to file for unemployment. That is a great way to do it. That is there for them to take advantage. And at the Chamber, one last thing as I've sped through these, we are in the process of creating a resource that employees that have been laid off, furloughed, can load their information by industry, and then we will distribute that out to industries that are looking to hire. There are businesses right now that are hiring through this, so we want to be there for them.
Sir, you mentioned the survey going out to people with some hard numbers at some point. What are you hearing from just kind of anecdotally what this impact is for businesses, not just one community, but everybody?
Yeah, as you can imagine, it's significant. Whether it be cancellations of future business, loss of revenue just from the social distancing piece of this. We've heard some anecdotal numbers, but as I said, most of them right now are just trying to figure out what it's going to be. At the same time, as I said, others have become innovative and changing their business model, so they've kind of helped their revenue a little bit. So we're going to give them a couple weeks to figure that out before we actually put out some numbers.
Like restaurants, bars, and other retail, that's the most physical things we're mostly talking about. What about the industrial sector? Are your members telling you anything about ways to changing shifts because of the social distancing requests, things like that, or supply chain issues, anything like that?
Actually, if I could address the second part first, Scott. Actually, the supply chain is starting to come back online because the recovery in China has already reached into a more stable side. The supply chain does not seem to be affected on that side as much. The social distancing piece has been shutting down some different manufacturing. We haven't heard of a big one here that's done. It's been mostly state or nationally, but most of them have been business as normal. What we are waiting for and kind of watching for is the bars and restaurants, retails. They have suppliers, they have people that work on their HVAC or do things for them. We're waiting for that to start to impact. And so we haven't seen those numbers yet, but it's coming. We're fairly confident of it. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Questions for the mayor? Yes, we're hearing about salons, nail shops. Do we expect them to close at all, or
Well, the principle we've been operating under is the CDC guidelines about limiting gatherings of 10 people or more. And so at this juncture, salons do not generally exceed that. So we're not asking them to do anything, although we would ask everybody to practice social distancing and extra hygiene in whatever way they can to continue operating safely and serving the people of the community.
one thing
The city of Knoxville is open and running for business. We are taking extra precautions with all of our employees to give them personal protective equipment that they need. Most of our employees cannot work remotely. You know, they are out here doing public service. They're out here protecting us, fire and police. And so the city of Knoxville is open and running for business. For those small percentage of Knoxville city workers who can perform their duties at home, we are encouraging them to telecommute, and that and working on that, and working on arrangements with their supervisors to work on that. So that's something that each department is handling. The building itself is run by the Public Building Authority, and they are still open and open to the public. Of course, a lot of the courts, I believe, have modified their schedules quite a bit, so there's a lot fewer members of the public in the building right now, but it's open until further notice, as far as I know.
Related to that, one question that we've been getting a lot is Knox County and Knoxville still monitoring parking meters around?
That's a great question. We are working with the parking enforcement downtown to make sure that the restaurants and who are doing the delivery, that there's easy and free ways for their customers to come by and park at no cost to pick up their food.
But as far as just normal parking meters, is there still being enforced and monitored on a regular basis?
I believe so. I think there's maybe there's a little bit more relaxed approach to it, but we also want to make sure to not interfere with commerce as much as possible. I mean, this virus has interfered with a lot of our economy and practices, so we're trying to adjust and be as flexible and responsive as possible. So things are, as I said before, constantly evolving, and the city of Knoxville wants to accommodate people and accommodate businesses, and also just be responsive to the needs of public health. Okay, thank you.